Welcome to a new episode of the Football Baron podcast. Let's talk about some of the stuff that's going on in the Bundesliga in particular, where we saw some of the matches playing out with Bayern losing after having a lead and Dortmund back to their goal scoring form with Erling Haaland coming back alongside SC Freiburg in a top tier form at the current moment and winning in a dominant fashion against FC Cologne. Alongside the state of the Carabao Cup with Tottenham and Man City now officially confirmed as the two contendees for the trophy this year, as well as transfer news circling the new manager at PSG, Mauricio Pochettino, alongside Bayern and the potential replacements they could be looking for. But let's start off with that Bayern game. So Bayern went off on a good start, let's be completely honest. 2-0, pretty good start from them. But then Leon Goretzka, incredible goal as well, and Robert Lewandowski securing a penalty, but kind of just collapsed, and particularly some defensive players, Pavard and Nicolas Schwelle, were the primary players at fault, really. Pavard, just Benjamin Pavard, just a terrible pass that just gave away possession, and they really fell. The goals that they conceded and what led to those goals. Gladbach's pressing really just put so much pressure on them where they conceded the ball, and the defenders, in particular Nicolas Schwelle, was making weird decisions such as trying to play the Gladbach attacker offside was a really dumb decision, and it looked like it was the decision worked out in the end in the initial impression where the linesman did not raise the flag. But with a check with VAR, they found out that it was onside, and just overall, like he doesn't seem himself in terms of speed, and you have to be sympathetic with him because of the injury he has faced, ACL injuries, and of course that is going to affect how fast the player is, but just very not not what you expect from him. He's usually a dominant center back, and he made some poor mistakes. And I was surprised with Hansi Flick not subbing him off because of what happened and what he was doing and how he was performing. Because the third goal was around the 60th minute, and there's only one real substitution change. But I think Bayern still had a chance to secure a goal, but it was also just Gladbach's defensive back line was pretty solid. In particular, Matthias Ginter. He did suffer a blow to the head with Leroy Sané's kick, which hit him in the head, and he was knocked out for a good bit, but he continued playing, and although I don't think he should have continued playing, him staying on the pitch did indeed work out in the end, where he made two vital clearances and blocks near the end of the game. One goal line clearance in particular, nearing the game's end. And him and Elvedi have been pretty consistent. Gladbach, although they aren't in Europa League or Champions League qualification at the moment, they have been a little bit slow to the build-up. But that center back pairing has been pretty strong, I'd say. And I think the main thing that they just need is building on this consistency. After a strong comeback win like that raises morale, especially against a team like Bayern Munich. And they just need to keep building on that. But main thing for Bayern, though, is just keep finding form again and rectifying those mistakes that their defenders made. And Leon Goretzka even talked about it after the game, how it was a lot of individual mistakes, but it's also the team's performance couldn't rectify those mistakes. And the main thing now for Gladbach is keeping that momentum and try to get Champions League qualification. And Bayern is to make sure that and hope that RB Leipzig does not get those 3 points with the match in hand that they have, which would make them first in the league. And they just need to keep their consistent form, because if they get caught like they have in that Gladbach game, they will not be getting first in the Bundesliga again. Freiburg versus Cologne. We saw an interesting game again with SC Freiburg. My goodness, they've been absolute like at peak form. Earlier in the prior to the season, I thought that Freiburg were going to be relegation battlers, and it was looking like it, where we were really close to the relegation zone. And Freiburg have clawed their way out with just 6 to 7 impressive wins. I do not recall the exact number, but their recent form has been incredible, and that form was piled on against Cologne, where they won 5-0. Demirovic and Shala have been top tier players this season. They've been real class. Shala, breakout season, and he's been doing quite incredibly. Demirovic was a signing, and I think it was crucial to bring him in, and it's shown that he's been paying it off, the signing. And it's really incredible, though. Like, going back on the previous point, where preseason I thought they would suffer a relegation battle, and it's looking like it's not going to happen with the form that they're in and how high they are up in the league table. But with losing the likes of Luka Waldschmidt, Robin Koch, those are some top tier players, especially the defensive solidity and the versatility that Robin Koch can give, as well as Luka Waldschmidt, who was a pretty top goal scorer for SC Freiburg. But it seems that Demirovic has filled those boots, and he's been an incredible signing for Freiburg. And if Freiburg can keep this going, I think they have another successful campaign like they did last season, where they could challenge for Europa League qualification if they keep that consistency and showing those top tier performances as they have done against FC Cologne. But only time can tell. But it's looking very positive for them, and Christian Streich has been doing an incredible job at SC Freiburg, especially this season as well as last season and his entire tenure. He's been doing an incredible job, and it's looking like it could be another successful campaign. Dortmund managed to break through Leipzig's defense with Erling Haaland getting 2 goals, as well as Jadon Sancho getting a goal and an assist, alongside Marco Reus getting onto the sheet with winning 2 assists as well. Those three were pretty top tier against Leipzig, and put in a pretty top performance. Leipzig, they're unfortunate that they lost that, because if they had won that, they would have gone first in the table as a result of Bayern Munich's poor performance against Gladbach and giving away a lead. But main thing from Dortmund I'm seeing is, though, that they're looking like they can get those goals coming in again, especially with Erling Haaland back after, I believe it was 2 months that he's been gone, a month and a half. And I think that is pretty solid from him. Just, again, the main thing right now for Leipzig is just bouncing back and try to see if they can catch Bayern Munich again and seize that first place. They're only 2 points away, and the next the next two teams, is Bayer Leverkusen and Dortmund, who are 29 points and 28 points respectively. And the main thing for Leipzig is they have to maintain that defensive record they've had all season, because it did get a little breached in that back line, especially with one of the runs that Erling Haaland did, and many of the runs he does is just incredible, and he really just carves through the defense, and he did carve through Leipzig's defense, and he set up a lot of the goals himself with how he played, but also with the help of Sancho and Reus, they put in a lethal work against Leipzig and their defense. But overall, main thing, Leipzig, unfortunate in not getting those 3 points, and Dortmund getting those 3 points and seeing some of their players, such as Sancho and Reus, and Sancho in particular, who isn't getting as much interest anymore due to the form that he's been in as he was in the summer. But main thing for Sancho now is just keep pushing on and get that form back. And if he's looking to come back to the Premier League, come back home, then he's going to need to get that form back up and attract that interest from those other clubs. Tottenham are moving on to the final. Incredible achievement for Jose Mourinho and Tottenham. Although it's not that reputable of a trophy, it's still a trophy, and a fairly big one, I'd say. It's not as reputable, but still, Tottenham are going to the finals. 2-0 win against Brentford. Brentford did lose a man, but still Tottenham managed to push through, even scoring those goals prior to Josh Da Silva getting a red card after a foul on Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. But the main thing for Tottenham is this final coming up. This could be their first trophy after, I believe, 10 years. A pretty long while, ever since Gareth Bale, I believe, was last at the club. And the main thing for Tottenham right now is whether or not they can get that trophy, and as well as maintaining that competitiveness for the other titles that they're in, such as Europa League, Premier League, Europa League, which they have a good chance in. Premier League, they have been showing glimpses that they could challenge it, and it's been looking like they have been challenging it. But the main thing now for Mourinho and Pep Guardiola, whether those two who are going to face each other in the finals, who will get on top of that match. And I think the main thing, though, that's interesting to see will be to see is that Mourinho has never lost an EFL Cup final, and he's won a trophy at every one of the clubs he's been in, and he could very well keep that record going by winning an EFL Cup with Tottenham Hotspur. And Spurs desperately need a trophy to stop all the jokes and memes that are targeted towards them. But Tottenham, if they can get some of their star players continue their consistency in top quality form, then I think they have a really good chance. But it's also a Man City side who have been looking far more dominant and more consistent, defensively more solid with players like John Stone and Ruben Diaz being far more compact and keeping that defensive back line more secure. And as well as just Man City going back into form with their attackers also beginning to score goals again. And it's looking like a good cup final that's going to be coming up. But honestly, I think I still have my bets on Tottenham. Just I have a feeling about it, and I think that Tottenham would be the favorites and ultimate winners. But then again, still some time left before this final happens, and when it does, there's could be numerous factors such as injuries. If we see Harry Kane and Heung-min Son get injured, it's going to be a very very tough game for Spurs. All right, let's move on to some transfer news about Bayern Munich. After that poor performance against Gladbach, we've been talking about it previously on the podcast. We got to talk about their defensive issues a little bit. Pavard has been out of form this season, and Hansi Flick is reported that he's not too big of a fan of their current wings back situation, specifically right back. And the performance from Pavard, where he did make a sloppy pass and he's just not been in form really, it's looking like Bayern might be searching for a new right back. In particular, Hansi Flick asking for one. There is some in some press conferences he's been talking about how the wing backs have made how important their role is, and they did make some poor decisions. But in particular, the right back situation where they can't bring Joshua Kimmich in there because they want to put him in a central midfield position. And they can't put him into right back because Thiago left, and without Kimmich in that central midfield, then it's going to be even more weakened. And they were looking to bring in Serginho Dest, but that didn't work out too well. But Flick's request, which is with him trying to get another right back in potentially for the January transfer window, is reported to fall on deaf ears. Looking at Brian Reynolds, an American player from FC Dallas, is not looking like it could happen, but with other teams interested such as Roma and Juventus. But the main thing for Bayern is whether or not they will listen to Hansi Flick's request. It's looking like it's falling on deaf ears according to reports, but if they can get a new right back or a right back that can help solve that issue that they're having at the current moment, then it could help Hansi Flick. But I think, although it's a little bit of an issue, I think they still have what it takes with the squad, even with that right back issue, to just keep pushing on. I think that Pavard, although he's out of form, I think he just needs a couple more games, and I think he has the ability. I think he clearly has the ability to get back in form and show why he should continue playing as right back for Bayern Munich. With Thomas Tuchel out of PSG, Pochettino is now the new PSG manager, and it's looking like he could link up with Christian Eriksen again. Christian Eriksen, we did see move on from Tottenham to Inter Milan for a new challenge. Unfortunately for him, it didn't go too well, and it's looking like Inter are looking to get them off their wage bill and move on from him. And we could see him go to PSG, where he could continue to have that salary that he's having at Inter Milan, as well as link up with one of his old coaches that really helped him achieve the top form he had in the Premier League with Spurs. And the two have had great history, and already, Inter are actively looking for clubs to give Eriksen to, and with PSG as an option, I think Christian Eriksen has a far better opportunity and far better win-lose scenario there. He can keep a higher salary because of PSG's financial situation, and the financial background they have, as well as he can, it's a new challenge still that he's looking for, that he looked away from Spurs, and he's going to be with one of his old coaches that really helped him get that top tier form. And he's not in form at all at the current moment, and if he wants to get in form, Pochettino would definitely have a way to do that. And I think the main thing now for Pochettino is just getting those signings that he wants. And we're going to talk later about another signing that he's looking to bring in. But Christian Eriksen, if he can get to his normal self, he would be a top midfielder for PSG and would be a great player. And under Pochettino's management, I'm sure he can get up there, especially with Pochettino's background and what he's done at Southampton and Spurs. He has that ability and quality to get Christian Eriksen back up there. Paul Pogba is also another reported wanted signing from Mauricio Pochettino. He's a huge fan of his talents and as what he can do in the midfield. Paul Pogba is reported that Manchester United are willing to let him go this summer, as they feel like they can't really hold on to him after the comments made by his agent. And I think it's a fair assessment, especially with what Mino Raiola said. And if they bring in Paul Pogba, and it's said that he's the number one target for Pochettino, and his main one of the main players he wants to bring into PSG, then he could be a useful signing. Going back to France maybe can help him feel more comfortable, and there's a lot more quality players, I'd say. I wouldn't say a lot more, but maybe it's a different environment for Pogba that he might be looking for. But the main thing for Pogba probably now is just not staying at Manchester United. It's pretty clear that he wants to leave, if Mino Raiola said that. And the main thing now is whether Mauricio Pochettino can get him in the January transfer window, which I believe would probably be unlikely, and most likely try to bring him in the summer, where Manchester United are willing to sell him. After all, they did trigger a contract extension, which allowed them to not lose him for free. And that would be a solid opportunity for both Pochettino in bringing Pogba and Manchester United to get something out of him before he leaves. All right, let's talk about one of my favorite segments of the podcast, Wonder Kid to Watch. A Wonder Kid is a young player, usually under the age of 21, around that range, where he has a lot of potential and a lot of talent, and he could be a world-class player. And one of those players that we are seeing is a player who's been getting a lot of interest, specifically from Liverpool, in particular, Sven Botman. He's a center back for Lille, and he's 6'3" and a pretty physical, dominant center back. A good amount of pace, a solid pace, and he also has a pretty incredible record in terms of his passing percentage and his passing ability. He has one of the top passing percentages in the French league. And looking at the stats, you can also see that many of those passes aren't primarily back passes between the back line, but also a lot of forward passes. So definitely a pretty solid ball-playing defender, a player that Sven Botman could definitely be a player for modern tactics styles used by a lot of managers. And, for example, Jurgen Klopp, he would be useful for. And that's one of the main reasons that teams like Liverpool have been looking at him, is his ball-playing ability. And he's a Dutch international. He hasn't gone to the national team, senior team yet, but he is part of the Dutch national team, Dutch under-23s. And the main thing for the interest, the surrounding Sven Botman, is that if he can get that potential, he's 20 years old, if he can fulfill the potential that he has, and with the likes of reports coming in that Liverpool have him thoroughly scouted and want to bring him in, and they might not bring him in this January transfer window. But what Sven Botman can give to Liverpool is maybe a new future in terms of what could be a potential replacement for Virgil van Dijk. Lots of comparisons to Virgil van Dijk. We've also seen that with other players at Liverpool, such as Sepp van den Berg. But The main thing that Sven Botman has is that potential again of a ball playing defender who's good on the ball, and he plays defensively solid. He has pace as well, and can provide that pace. 21 years old, so if barring injuries, he will have that pace for a good while, and to give that ability to run back and provide that defensive cover and maintain that control of possession when teams are playing out from the back. So definitely a player to look out for, and definitely Sven Botman. If he can continue what he's doing at Lille and keep improving, he will be a target for many top clubs in the future. But then that will be it for this episode of the Football Baron podcast. Thank you all for listening to this episode. If you are on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and the like button for this video. And if you do, I appreciate that. As well as if you are on podcast, any podcast platform, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Stitcher, please hit the follow or the subscription button and give us a rating. And check out our YouTube channel as well, Football Baron, where we have the full episodes of the podcasts, as well as smaller clips, which you can watch and look at. And of course, thank you all for listening, and I hope you all have a great day.